All right, what's going on, guys? SteelTwins back at you with mock draft number 10.
Yeah, man, so let's just get right into it with the 49th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. The Pittsburgh Steelers select Austin Jackson, offensive tackle out of USC.
Yes, an offensive tackle.
Yeah, and why not? Because I think a lot of people are forgetting that Alejandro Villanueva, our starting left tackle, of course, is coming into his final year of his contract, of course. And he's going to be 32 come September, come the start of the new season.
If there even is one at this point.
Right, but he's going to be 32 come September. So, and he's coming to the last year of his contract.
And you got to think, last year he played very down compared to his 2 previous years when he made the Pro Bowl.
Right. Now, depending on what he does this year, I can see the Steelers giving him an extension. And we love Villanueva, of course. You know, his story. You know, first of all, the fact that he was in the military and he went overseas and
served
for our country, that
initially.
Yeah, and then him coming to the NFL, being a defensive end for the Eagles, then Tomlin seeing him in the preseason game, scouted him, switched him to left tackle, and now he's a 2-time Pro Bowler, starting left tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers, protecting
our quarterback, Big Ben.
So it's incredible. But
like I said, last year he played down very badly.
Right, and depending on what he does this year, they could give him an extension, but at the same time, you still got to think he's going to be 32 in September. He's going to be 33 by the time his deal starts. So, if he gets a new deal, I should say.
Right, and we got to think about keeping the offensive line young.
Yes.
We need youth on this offensive line.
And like we said in our 9th mock, the one that was posted earlier this week, when we had Tyler Baidaz in the 3rd round, this is the perfect time to address offensive line because most of our positions are already filled. So all we got to get is mostly depth and some holes that we got to get for offense and defense, of course. This is the perfect time to address offensive depth and eventually the future of the offensive line because most of our guys are aging, unfortunately, but this is the perfect time to address that and start developing guys because you don't want to necessarily draft a guy after – like, say next year, although there's a few guys I already like I think there's a Walker Little next year that I would absolutely like at left tackle, but still, do you want to draft him and then put him in day 1, while Austin Jackson would be development, and then he have a year to develop and then come into a second year and then start then, where he's a little more confident, a little more, bred, a little more marinated, of course.
Yeah.
So that's what Austin Jackson would apply there. He would be the future at left tackle, of course. And although we don't draft Trojans often, because I believe the last 2 Trojans we've drafted were Troy Polamalu and Juju Smith-Schuster, and we all know how they've turned out, especially Troy and Juju. Hopefully he can have another great year and get an extension next year, of course. Yeah. And that's another thing. With the extensions we might have to take care of next year, with not only Juju, possibly Connor, although I doubt it, but it's still a possibility, possibly Connor. You have T.J. Watt, although he's probably going to get the 5th-year option. Bud Dupree, if we don't get an extension before this upcoming year. And those are just a few names.
Yeah.
So those are a few guys that, and of course Cameron Sutton, of course. So those are a few guys that will need extensions. Villanueva could be the odd man out. And again, we're still going to need left tackle. That's where Austin Jackson applies there. He would be depth, of course, development, and then be the starter come next year. So that's how I see it right there.
Yeah, it'd be perfect.
I think it's the perfect time to do such things. So
yeah, I mean, you got to think about this, not just the tackle position, this offensive line class in this year's draft. It's completely stacked. So if you ask me, whether if it's guard, center, tackle, whatever, it's the perfect time to develop some guys, and when it's their time to start in the future, then there you go.
Absolutely. Now, at the 102nd pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Leki Fotu, defensive tackle out of Utah. Same thing in the 9th mock we posted earlier this week. We said we're incredibly high on Isaiah Buggs, and we think it's the perfect time for him to step up and take over that Hargrave spot because of guys like Carl Dunbar, a guy he has connections with from Alabama a few years back, and the opportunity he's given right now. But still, some competition goes a long way, and the Steelers might be thinking differently on Buggs. Who knows? We don't necessarily exactly know what Steelers are thinking. They might give him the opportunity. They might be sold on him for all we know. But, again, you can never be sure. So that's why we're going to go Fotu here, defensive tackle in the 3rd round. And I think Fotu is just the perfect fit for our system. You know, he doesn't show a lot of pass rush ability, but he is the perfect plug-and-play guy to fill in those gaps and stop the run. He's a big guy, so he'll easily fill those gaps and, like I said, stop the run and just be the perfect plug-and-play guy for our system and everything. So, so
there you go.
I think that'd be perfect right there, and I'd like to see Fatu and Bugs battle for a defensive tackle.
Absolutely. It would just make them both better.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So now with the first fourth-round selection we got the 124th overall pick. The Pittsburgh Steelers select Bowden Jr. Everything out of Kentucky.
Yeah, pretty much everything. Because, I mean, it showed last year he played a little bit of quarterback when his quarterback went down. So he has the wildcat, ability there that Fichtner likes to do. And we did it with Samuels last year, and it only worked good in the Bengals Monday Night Football game. Other than that, it didn't do a goddamn thing. Bowen, if you want to do that wildcat formation, Bowen is the perfect guy. He can play quarterback, running back, receiver. He is incredibly versatile on the offense. I think he's the versatility and the creativity and the wonder that the Steelers offense could really use on offense.
Oh yeah.
And I just said Steelers offense twice. Whatever. But the Steelers could use on offense pretty much. And I think he could be the next Antoine Randall. We all know how versatile and how great Randall was for our team and for our offense, how much creativity and spark and big playability he applied.
Absolutely, how dynamic he was, how much versatility he brought to that Steelers offense.
And not only that, but of course, special teams. And that's what Bowden could get his feet wet with initially is special teams. You have to give Ryan Switzer competition. I'm sorry, we were high on Switzer, when we traded for him, even before he was a Pittsburgh Steeler, honestly, to be completely honest with you. But he has, I hate to say it, but he has been arguably the most pointless receiver I've ever seen in my life. Like, what does he do? He sits back there and waves at the birds. Hi, sky. Ooh, look at that. There's clouds. Is it going to rain? Probably. That's all he fucking does. And then when he's on the field, he gets literally 2 yards. He is the most pointless receiver I've ever seen in my life. You have to give him competition. Even though Ben likes Switzer, you have to give him competition.
Yeah.
That's what Bowden would do. He'd get his feet wet in special teams, and then he'd be that creativity, that versatility, that spark that Steelers offense could really use. I'm a big fan of Bowden. I think he can be the next Antoine Randall, and he's just that spark and that big playability that the Steelers really need on the team overall, especially on the offense.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's how I see it right there. Now with the 135th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Tanner Muse, dime linebacker out of Clemson. We had him in the 9th mock earlier this week as well, and we're going to do it again this week because we are massive on Tanner Muse. I think he'd be the ideal dimebacker that Steelers have been searching for
and not
for a while.
Not only are we, and a lot of Steelers fans that we talked with, not only are they high on him, but the Steelers in general. They went to his pro day. They even had a private dinner with him. That goes to show you how invested and how, what's the word?
High they are
on
Muse, honestly, because, I know they do it. I think they do it to like one player every year. But still, to dine with a player like that really goes to show you how, like I said, like we said, how high they are on a specific player.
Intrigued they are in you.
And we released Mark Barron. We're going to need another dime linebacker.
Yeah, right now, our depth is not really too spectacular inside linebacker. Outside of Devin Bush, Vince Williams, and Ulysses Gilbert. But that's just about it. We're going to need another guy there. And Tanner Muse could be that guy.
And he's the perfect dimebacker to come in, split reps with Vince Williams, and pair up beside Devin Bush on those dimebacker packages or those dime packages. And you could do the same thing with Ulysses Gilbert. Get his feet wet there. Get his feet wet in special teams and then work his way up onto the field because he has a lot of potential there. You could mix Muse and Gilbert around there if you want to. Honestly, a dime linebacker, I think that'd be really nice. And then you can still put in Vince Williams for those short yardage plays or those blitz packages, which we know Williams is great at. So I think you can still mix on a lot of guys on the field at dime linebacker and inside linebacker in general. Keep the offense confusing, keep the defense fresh, and just apply a lot of spark and speed there, I'd say. So I think that make the defense a little better, honestly.
Yep.
So think about that, man.
Now with the 198th overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Calvin Throckmorton, offensive lineman out of Oregon.
Yes, and the reason why we say offensive lineman is because he can literally play any position on the offensive line. At Oregon, he played literally every position. Left tackle, left guard, right tackle. I think the only position he didn't play was center, but, I don't think that's necessarily something that, although we said it in our mock earlier this week, I don't think that's necessarily that big of a point there. We could get him moving at center maybe, but we drafted Austin Jackson to replace Villanueva. We're going to need Now, we have Wisniewski to be that versatile and flexible piece.
But again, he's 30, and he's not going to get any younger. We need youth on this offensive line.
Yes.
I like the addition of Wisniewski. Don't get me wrong. I think he could be hella good for us.
He's a great temporary, honestly.
Yeah, but we need youth.
Yes.
And we need to keep this line young.
And that's what Jackson and Throckmorton would apply. Throckmorton would pretty much be that another versatile piece that you could apply on the offensive line if there were unfortunate and sudden injuries. Mm-hmm. But you could eventually develop him to take over the left guard's role, maybe right guard, maybe. We don't know how long DeCastro has left, although he's showing no signs of slowing down. But if you want to get him moving at center, you could do that as well. He can play any position on offensive line and produce. I believe he started at every offensive line position at Oregon, at least once, outside of center. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, but you know he has that versatility, and Steelers love versatile offensive linemen.
Right, and the only issue with that is that we don't necessarily know exactly what he is best at or what he truly is on the offensive line. But in the Steelers, and with Wisniewski being that flexible piece already, that could give Throckmorton that true vision of an actual position he could focus on. And that could be left guard, honestly, because Wisniewski could fill in that left guard role, or Matt Fielder could, but we still got to address youth and depth and eventually the future. We got 2 offensive linemen there. Keep the offensive line young and fresh.
You protect your quarterback. You get better with the run blocking in the running game, and there you go.
There's a lot of versatility there as well. So.
Oh, yeah.
And now with 232nd pick, the last pick, of course, the Steelers select Josh Metellus, defensive back out of Michigan. So Muse is it's crazy. He has the speed and the coverage ability of a safety, but he looks like a linebacker. So I think it'd be best if he moved the linebacker, especially
I think a lot of people are saying that as well.
Especially with what he would apply there. That's insane.
Oh yeah.
And we still need safety depth. That's what Metellus would apply. He is a thumper guy. He would get his feet wet in special teams, be a contributor there. And he's from Michigan, so he has connections with Bush. So you would pair him back up with Bush, get that chemistry going. And I think Metellus could be a nice sleeper, honestly. He would, like I said, he'd be a special teams core guy and be a demon there.
Right.
He could eventually challenge Edmonds if he develops well, and I know we're not the best system to do that when it comes to defensive backs. Clearly, I mean, just look at our track record.
I don't even have to go by name.
Right.
I don't want to. I don't want to replay those bad memories in my mind.
Especially with what we got now, of course.
Yes.
But the chemistry he has with Bush could definitely help him there. He could eventually challenge Edmonds, but he'd be initially safety depth, which we clearly need.
Oh, yeah.
And a special team score guy there. So, anyway, guys, that's the mock draft, our 10th one. Let us know your guys' thoughts down below. If you guys have any mock drafts or any other suggestions or selections, go ahead and put it down below. Of course, we'll be continuing weekly mocks, of course, leading up to the NFL draft, which we all know is coming sooner than we can even blink, honestly. So that's great to think. We might be doing another one of these where we do 2 mock drafts throughout the week. Let us know what you guys think about that type of format, if it works best, or just let us know what you guys think about that. We might get another one done before draft gets ahead, but you guys can definitely expect weekly mocks coming up before the draft, of course. So see you guys in the next one, man.
Like, comment, subscribe. See you later.
Peace!